Okay, so this video, I know I've done something like this in the before, but why not do it again? So this video is to show you guys the 307 of my choice, 307 I would prefer, and then also explain 307 which you probably would prefer than the one I would choose. So for me, I prefer the hatchback, like the exactly what you're looking at on the screen. Though uh I prefer the facelifted model, that's the T6. But notwithstanding, it has to be a hatchback. Um the hatchback could be the 5 door hatchback or 3 door hatchback. But of course, priority will be the 5 door hatchback. But um if it comes 3 door hatchback, no problem. Um, so now let's talk about the other specifications. Let's start with the engine. So this is the 2.2 liter EW12 J4 3FY version petrol engine. So yeah, this is a 307 uh, I would prefer, right? They are more like two engines that are my priority like the first two I will choose. But sometimes it'll be like even your first two choices, you have to first one needs to be like number one. So this is basically like the number one for me. Um, but then Peugeot did not produce any 307 with this engine. So I know it may not make sense to some people hearing this. Like, why would you choose something that doesn't exist or prefer something that doesn't exist? Why I prefer it because I can make it happen. I can convert a 307. I actually started the project in the past. So I can convert a 307 to this engine easily. I've done the research, gathered the knowledge on how to go about it. So it's not a problem. So that's why I prefer the 2.2 liter 307 with this. Obviously, manual transmission. So I think I've done a video where I explained it wasn't the subject of the video, but it was at the point I kind of explained how to go about the conversion to make it easier to convert with the model of Peugeot 307 that you can easily do that. So mechanically and electrically, it's not a problem for me. So I started it actually gathering the parts. I even ordered about 2 parts from Europe for this. Got the gearbox. The project was that it has to be 6 speed manual transmission, MLCC with this engine. So, but at a point I got stuck. I was kind of because to use that 6 speed is going to be much tougher for me. Going to cost me more. It wasn't going to be more like a plug and play conversion. But if it was to be a 5 speed manual transmission, then it would be a plug and play conversion. But if I want it to be a plug and play conversion for the 6 speed manual transmission, then I will spend. I actually started the spend. How much did I spend when I was gathering this parts for the transmission? I mean, even the gear lever with the cables for the 6 speed, I had to order it from outside. So it was now remaining the drive shaft, the engine mount, no, the gearbox mount bracket, and the lower engine mount bracket. So at a point, I mean, if I were to look at it now, it would cost me probably like 1.5 million naira or even more to order these things. You're not even talking about aside the other ones I've gathered, the parts I gathered for it. So at a point, I was like, must it really be this engine? Because There is one that actually has more power, factory made 307 that has more power than this, and that is well, more horsepower, uh, and that is EW10J4S. So I'm going to show you guys that one later. So, but then this one has more torque, but not as if the difference is that much. Like this one has 202 new meter torque. No, 220 new meter torque. I'm talking of this 3FY EW12 2.2 engine. While that of the EW10J4S, which is 2.0 liter engine, has um, 202. So a difference of 18 new meter torque. So, um, but then this one is about 163 horsepower, while the other one, the 2.01, is about approximately 180 horsepower, but some say it's about 177. But let's just leave it approximately 180 or 177 anyway, if you want to be conservative about it. So, what, you gain horsepower on the 2.0 on, and you lose torque on that one. While on this one, you gain uh, torque but lose the HP. So at the point, it became a dilemma. Which one will interest me the most? Is it the torque or the horsepower? And as much as I like engine that has torque, where you don't really need to press the throttle that much to gain speed, you know. But I also like engine that I need to push hell out of sometimes when I'm in the mood. You know what I mean? Push hell out of means I push the RPM to the red line if it comes to that, or not necessarily red line, close to it. And that 2.0 on, that's the EW10J4S. Even the RPM can push it above 7,000 RPM. While this particular one, the 2.2, the maximum, uh, I'm not even sure it's up to 6,000 RPM. It's not up to about 5,000 something, if I'm not mistaken, or thereabout, or maximum 6,000. But I think it's about 5,000 something, the maximum RPM. Or okay, let's just leave it at 6,000 RPM for this 2.2 liter engine. While that of the 2.01 push it to about 7,000 or 7,500 RPM, thereabout. So that will make it more fun, but doesn't necessarily mean because it pushes it to that RPM that it make it quicker or faster. So then I was like, did it really worth it to actually spend all this money to on this conversion, and still it won't be like the best in terms of both the torque and the new meter torque. So at the point, you know what, I think I could probably just maybe consider that of the 2.0. So now I started looking for it. So this is it. This is the EW10J4S. So when it comes to 307, the most powerful uh, production 307, this is the one to go for. Like I mentioned earlier, it's 180 horsepower, 202 newton torque. In fact, that is 2.0. So yeah, the torque not that great compared to uh the 2.2 on, but at least it has more torque than every other petrol engine in 307. So, but then they are not easily available. You can only get these ones they are more common with the CC, the convertible, and I just don't really like convertible 307. Some people like it, but I don't. um I've driven quite a number of them. They are fast, depending on engine in them anyway. But then they have more weight. I can't remember if they have more weight than 307. estate or station wagon, but they are more weight than the is it call it coupe version or three-door version and the five-door hatchback version. So, but not necessarily because of the weight. Me personally, I always like cars that have space in the boot. The CC doesn't have. So if you are buying a 307cc, forget about load for the boot. You won't have any space. Just very small something that will even contain much. So that's one of the reasons why the look. I can say some like the looks. I also don't really like, especially from the rear, how it looks like. Um, I think the main issue with me is just the boot size. It's just too small. No space at all. I just can I have to. It's just who I am. All my cars when I'm driving is boot is usually loaded, tools, this and that. So my cars are mostly sometimes regarded as a mobile workshop. So I can't do without that boot space. So, but if you want this engine easily, you can get it from the convertible. Remember, they come only in manual transmission, so it's like the sports version of 307. If you are looking for the most fun 307 to have, this is the one. Um, like I said, even the suspension not very necessarily identical with the. I can't say for sure. Can't remember. Trying to remember. I know I've driven one. Um, I've worked on two so far. But no, one. I've only worked on one. There's one CC that I know I worked on a few times, but I didn't actually drive the car. Um, the one I drove was five-door hatchback. So now this is the one I was looking for, but it was hard to get at that time when I was searching for it. So at a point, I was like, you know what? If I had to, I even started making arrangement if I can import one from France. I could remember then I made some contacts. At some point, I just couldn't wait anymore. I was like, at that time, um, even though the 407 coupe was in my mind, but because of this conversion thing, remember, I started with, let me do this conversion to 2.2. So I was more excited to do the conversion to have like a unique 307. So by the time it came down to, okay, it's going to cost me so much and so much time and the rest to do the conversion, especially if I want that 6 speed. Then I now realize that, man, even when I decided to go for this one, the 2.0 own, it still will not be as fast as or more powerful than the 407 coupe, which was much easier for me to find. So I was like, you know what? Let me suspend this 307 thing for now. So it was at that time I now went for the 407 coupe, my current 407 coupe. So which is V6, obviously much powerful, the rest. So if tomorrow, so I'm still torn between doing this conversion and this. The reason why I'm looking at this EW10J4S thing is um it comes only with 5 speed manual, which I've driven. I don't really necessarily have a problem with it. It's a long gear ratio gearbox, so it takes longer for the RPM to hit close to red line. So my point is, it has power, but not necessarily that. I don't know. It's quick, but not necessarily as quick as, okay, when you say comparing it to my VCs, something like that. But very quick when you compare, in a 307. So, which was why I was looking at that 6 speed manual, which has a shorter gear ratio. So I don't necessarily have to push the throttle for the RPM to climb up that high for the car to gain the kind of speed I want it to gain. So um, meaning that if I ever end up decide, okay, tomorrow maybe I'll go for 307 again, or restart that my project, the one of EW12. Like I said, The 5-speed manual will be much easier for me to start and conclude the conversion. But then would I think that I will enjoy it that much? It's possible with the 5-speed, but each time I drive that 6-speed manual with this engine, man, I feel it just make me start wondering if it's what that 5-speed is worth it for this engine. I'm talking of the EW12 now. So, but okay, leave my own by the side. Let me deal with my dilemma. But you guys, if you are into performance and it has to be a 307, and you're okay with manual transmission, remember this is meant purely for sports. So if you're okay with manual transmission, this is one to go for. Like I said, you can easily get it on the convertible or CC, but you can't get it on station wagon. Forget it. It's the project didn't make it at all. So you have all the other options you have is the 5-door hatchback or the 3-door hatchback. Yeah, you can get it on this. Now you can't get it on T5. T5 is the early 307. That's the phase one 307. So you can't get it on T5 on hatchback. You can only get it on T5 on the CC, the convertible. But on the facelifted 307, that which is the T6, you can now get it on the hatchback and the convertible. So, um, so basically, in terms of maintenance between this and the EW12J4, they share parts. For me, the EW12J4, all the parts, if you live in Nigeria, all the parts you need are available here in Nigeria for that engine. But for this EW10J4S, there are few engine parts that are not available. I'm talking about the accessories, because normally you shouldn't have any business touching inside the engine. But even if you had to, they are available. For example, this engine you are looking at now, the J4S, the valves, the intake and exhaust valve are that of the EW12, the 2.2. If I'm not mistaken, I'm sure I've done that research. So they are 2.2. So let's assume for some reason something happened to your timing belt, it could damage your valve. Well, you can easily source it here in Nigeria. You don't need to order them from outside. The gasket is also the same with EW10J4. So um, not everything inside is the same with EW10J4. Remember, it's 2.0 liter engine. You know, it shares some parts. Even camshaft, I think the camshaft is the same with EW12J4. If I'm not mistaken, the two camshafts. Um, but the crankshaft, I think, is different from EW12. It has the, what's it called? Like EW12J4, it has this thing under the crankshaft. That's um I'm trying to remember this thing that is on PRV engine. So it took a design from both EW12J4 and EW10J4. So both are mixed. So a few parts like I only have to source from outside. The crankshaft pulley with hardly phase, the intake, no, the motorized throttle body, which hardly phase like that. Um, Now the next one is what is it called? The spark plug. The spark plug is different from every other EW engine. Well, I mean the model, the recommended model. It's not as if you can't put any other spark plug like the one for the 2.2 liter engine, which is EW12. Put it there and serve. Put the one for the ES engine, V6 engine to serve. The EW10J4 to serve. I'm talking of if you want it to give you exactly maybe as recommended, to give you that power up to full or even better. I don't know. I can't say for sure. I'm yet to drive the one that has both the recommended spark plug and the non-recommended one to know how the performance will be. So I can't say for sure. So but it does you have to, it means you have to order the spark plug outside Nigeria, or you do with what you have here. So these are basically the three parts that are not available here in Nigeria, at least new. Um, Other than that, every other parts of the engine, I mean, what do you really, the timing kit, the auxiliary belt kit, timing kit is the same with EW10A. Um, Even the VVT sprocket is almost same with EW10A. The intake camshaft sprocket, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think so. Because this one has a, is it with EW10A or EW12J? If I'm trying to remember, it has a VVT solenoid, so it's not like a EW10J4. Okay, so in terms of fuel consumption, this consume almost the same with this 2.2. So bear that in mind. So like I said, these are for performance 307. This one is not factory made. I'm just the one that know how I can do it. You know, can wake up tomorrow now. If the resources is easily, you just right there. If I can decide, you know what, I'll do it. It take me less than, in fact, to be honest, less than a week, I'll conclude this conversion. Once the sources is there and I got the parts are available, I have it already. I'll just get it done. So, but then the only problem I'll now have is if I still want it to be 6 speed, then that's going to take more time because there are things I may have to import. I know I will have to import. So, or I'll deal with 5 speed and leave it like that. Um, So when you look at it this way, it makes sense to go for this one. Not because it has lesser torque doesn't mean it's not worth it. So yeah, I'll prefer. In other words, yeah, I would like to have this. But then just to have that EW2 will make it very unique. You probably will be the only person on earth that will have 307 with that 2.2 liter petrol engine. But then um do I really enjoy it like I would want to than this one 2.2? So the 2.0. So we'll see. So moving on. Now this is the next 307 that maybe you want power, performance, but not uh among the other two, previous two that I mentioned. Then this is one to go for. This one is factory made. It's also 2.0 liter engine, which is what's it called? EW10A. That's the model. Uh, Remember the first two I mentioned, they are the 2.2 and the 2.0. It has to be manual. Though the 2.2, remember, is not factory made. So if you want to do the auto own, it's possible, but I don't plan it at all. So if you want out the auto own, I don't know how you're going to. You could put AL4 there. I mean, it will work. Then AL4 with 2 UW12J4 engine will really make sense. That's the point. The one I doubt that will work is the 4HP20 because I'm looking at the space. 4HP20, I think is bigger than AL4. So will really be able to enter there? The 6-speed manual will fit in. But 4HP20, I don't know the possibility of it fitting in on that 307 engine bay. Anyway, so this one, it has the option of manual and the automatic. It comes with AL4 automatic, 4-speed automatic transmission. Um, Power is about 143 horsepower and 200 Newton meter torque. So the EW10J4S has just two on top of this one in terms of the torque. So in other words, both of them have the same torque, you know. So if you want to know how EW10J4 will behave in terms of performance on low RPM, go and drive any 307 with this engine. Yeah, you will now have idea, especially the manual. So you will have idea if you really want that EW10J4S on lower, in terms of the attitude on low RPM. So that's how I'll put it. Of course, but in terms of power, the horsepower, As the RPM goes up, then it outshines this particular engine. So, but this engine is very fun to drive in 307. I've driven both the auto and the manual. So, yeah, in terms of performance, in fact, I highly recommend it. Um, this is a car engine that most I won't say most, but you can easily, if you are not the type that takes, that wouldn't mind importing parts or taking the car, doing some of the repairs yourself or something like that, this is one to go for. At least one of the ones to go for. I know that most mechanics will understand in terms of the diagnosis and repair. However, I understand that still, even though I say most mechanics understand, but most of them, even though they understand, hate this engine. They will always discourage you. In fact, they will even help to mess up this engine for you. So, if you don't have any good project mechanic and you are not the type that want to do the repairs yourself, or you're not willing to give somebody that understand this engine, not only understand, appreciate this engine, because you have to appreciate it before you can be able to uh, do the repairs without abusing the engine. So if you have somebody that can appreciate this engine, and even if it charges more than the other people that do not appreciate it or discourages people from buying this kind of 307, then you have to be very careful, because this engine doesn't tolerate abuse. That's where I'm coming from. So you have to be somebody that, anybody that doing the repair with someone that do not agree or go with the school of thought of abusing cars engine using any type of oil. This engine runs only on 5W40 oil. Only on 5W, that's the only recommended oil for this engine. Likewise, this one is also only 5W40, which is B712296. So for 9,540 or mobile super 3,005 W40, name them. There's other models in the market. The B712296 certification code. So you have to be sure. If you know you can't afford to be using that oil for this engine, don't bother. So this is like the next powerful 307. For economy is there, in fact it's much lesser compared to these other two I mentioned, the EW10J4S and the EW12J4. uh It's just as durable as every other Peugeot car in 307, so as I'm concerned. But like I say, most people messes up their own, so they tend to have more issues with this engine on their 307 or other Peugeot cars because of wrong handling or abuses. So they tend to run away from it or complain bitterly about this engine. But I know people, I mean, come on, I always tell people, for me, if you can handle a V6, what is this then? Can be, it's not even close to complicity of V6. So moving on. So this is EW10J4, which is a common 2.0 liter refined in Nigeria, which is basically accepted by majority in Nigeria that after Peugeot. In fact, even those who are not even interested in Peugeot, they always hail or press this engine, and always say, even if they, anytime they are, if at all in the future they want to go for a Peugeot car, they want one with this engine. So it's a good engine. The power 138 horsepower, new meter torque 190. So it's, in terms of power and performance, is the least among the 2.0 liter engine in 307. So like I said, the 2.2, I don't want to add it to it's just something me is trying to produce by myself, a 307 with the engine. So not necessary that this is what should be factored in among all the 307, but then in terms of performance, this is the least 2.0. in 307. However, it's also good, just like EW10A. Some will argue that it's better, that is more, so to speak, reliable. Well, I disagree with that. They're all the same. Only that the other one doesn't like abuse, period. Um, so this comes also in automatic and manual. Uh, Unfortunately for this one, the EW10A tends to consume less fuel than this. But on average, you could say they are almost the same. But the other one, which is the newer, is an improvement on this. Um, just a little bit, not necessarily that it consume, the margin is that high. But you will tell when you drive both cars that no, the other one to consume much less. It consume less. Let us say much less, especially on highway. No, you enjoy the EW10A in terms of fuel consumption. But both engines, their fuel economy are okay, especially this one, but not necessarily like, when you look at 307 size. Um, it's a hatchback, a small hatchback car, even though you could say inside of the vehicle is big, but it's just a small hatchback vehicle. And so when you're looking at the size, it's expected that the car size, the fuel consumption should be much lower compared to bigger saloon cars. But 307 with this engine and the other one consume almost the same with normal saloon vehicle size, like 406 and the rest. 406 even tends to consume less, especially with consume less than that of 307 with this engine. In fact, the one with automatic consume much higher. 307 automatic with EW10J for consume much higher than the manual. But notwithstanding, but it doesn't mean the consumption is way worse like that. No. It's just that when you compare it to the next engine I'm going to talk about, yes, you could say a little bit high, but not that high. It's okay, but not it's below expectation, considering that this is a small car. So I think the reason could be because of the weight of 307, the hatchback, the convertible, the station wagon. It has almost the same weight with 406. So 406, of course, is bigger than 307, but for some reason 307 have almost the same weight. So of course, this EW10J4, including this one, both engines, you'll find them in the five-door hatchback, three-door hatchback, um, the station wagon or estate, and then convertible, that's the CC. So you can find any of these engine in any of the body models that I just mentioned. Okay, so now this is the most common engine you find in 307. This is a 1.6 liter petrol engine, non what's it, natural aspirated. All these engines I've pointed out so far, they are all natural aspirated. They are not forced induction engines. So that in terms of turbocharged or supercharged engine, no. So this 1.6 liter, known as TU5JP4. The power is about 107 horsepower. The new meter torque is how many? Is it 160 or thereabouts? Can't remember. But I know it's much lower than EW10J4. Remember, EW10J4 is 190 millimeter torque, so this one is much lower. So the power is there. It's just okay for the. It's it's not for the size of 307. It's okay. I said, it's not the quickest, but it's there. It can be quick as long as it doesn't have much load. This is the best when it comes to fuel economy. It's not that it consumes the least, but I'm saying I'll come back to the reason why I believe it's the best. You could still carry with some load and still return good fuel economy for good fuel consumption without consuming more. It's just on average the best if your priority is fuel economy. That's why people that go use, want to 307 for taxi, Uber, that's they call it e-hailing, all those things. This is what makes sense. This model of 307 with this engine, or virtual 307 with this engine, makes sense. This one comes with both manual and automatic transmission, which is for 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual. Um, it's good in terms of, okay, maintenance cost. Yeah, I would say this is the least. Okay, not the least in terms of maintenance cost, but the maintenance cost is very good. Um, it's not higher than that of EW10J4. Um, you could still say both are almost the same. It's not as if because they share some weaknesses like ignition coil with EW10J4 and the TU5JP4. They are known not to last that long. So every once in a while you have an ignition coil issue with any of these two engines. I'm talking about this and this. So while the other ones I mentioned, the EW12J4, 3FY, and the EW10J4S, I'm talking about this one, they don't have ignition coil issues, and this one too, no ignition coil issues. They are not known for that. They hardly have. But this, in fact, this one is the same, almost the same ignition coil with this one, EW 2.2, which is also almost the same with this one. So they hardly have problem. um but this one and this one, they do. So the only thing is, I always tell, don't buy the one that the car was produced with. Those are the ones that do tend to have that problem. um from experience, when you buy um value brand, for this coil, they tend to last much longer. So just avoid the OEM. The OEM, I think at a point like this model into either 2.0 EW10J4, they change it from, what's the brand? Is this Sagem? I think it's Sagem. I think it's Sagem. So they change it from Sagem to value in the OEM pack. Yeah, I think it's Sagem. I hope I'm right. So likewise, this one, I can't remember whether the OEM pack has that Sagem or it's still the same, or that has the new value, or see the OEM Sagem. I don't know, but I'll avoid use one if you can. Okay, I don't know if there's other thing I need to say about this engine. Like I said, this is the best when you are after 307 for fuel, the best fuel economy. That's what I would say. You go for this. Yeah. Durable, just like every other Peugeot engine and the rest. Power is okay, not just, it's about 107 horsepower. So it's okay. But don't buy it in terms if you are into speed or performance. This is not the car for it. Um, so this is another engine in 307. This is a 1.4 liter engine. It's known as ET3J4. Personally, I would advise you not to buy this engine. There are two 1.4 liter petrol engine in 307. Etc. It could be more, but these are the two I know. I didn't take picture of the second one. I didn't prepare it, add it to what I wanted to show you guys, but this is like one of them. The other engine is TU3JP, TU3JP, which is a common engine you find in 206, the 1.4 liter that are very common in Peugeot 206. So if okay, let's start with that one, the 1.4, the one common one 206, which is TU5JP4. The power is about 55 horsepower. New meter torque, I don't know, is it maybe 120 or 130, thereabouts. New meter torque. The of course, considering the size, 55 horsepower, the size of 307, it's not that quick. So if you are driving without much load, yeah, you could say at that time, without pushing the car that hard on highway, you could say the fuel consumption will be the least among all 307. But then when it comes to car, once you start to carry load, then the consumption will go higher than the 1.6 liter. So that's why I say the 1.6 liter to me remain like the best when it comes to less fuel consumption. Knowing that most times it mustn't be only the driver in the vehicle. So the 1.6 will still be able to carry some load and still maintain, gain, not necessarily effortlessly gain speed, but at least it shouldn't take it much harder to push the vehicle compared to this 55 horsepower vehicle. Engine will have to struggle, the vehicle will have to struggle, or engine will struggle actually to pull the heavier load. Of course, the 307 with the Dow TU5JP, TU3JP is not as heavy as the 1.6. In fact, those ones, they don't even come with alloy rim. They usually come with steel rims and the rest. But mistakenly, some people will go and put alloy rim and expect the car to be faster than it currently is, which will even make it worse. So I personally wouldn't recommend that for Uber to commercial purpose. Okay, might make sense. Yeah, might make sense knowing that most times it's only one or two persons will be carrying. So in that case, it might be the best if you can find it, you know. But if it comes to carrying loads, it might not be. Um, yeah, so that's what I would suggest. If it's going to be a long distance commercial purpose, uh, 1.6 might make more sense than the 1.4. So I don't need to stress that engine constantly. Remember, it's a small engine, so if you want to do a journey, maybe once in a while, but not a constant something. And if you are doing, please don't put beyond 100 kilometers per hour for that kind of engine on a highway for a long time. Just keep it low. So now on this one, this is more like a newer version of TU3JP engine. The TU3JP doesn't have a VVT, but this one has. So this one is about 65 horsepower and 133 newton-meter torque. The model is ET3J4. That's this one you are looking at on the screen. Personally, if you live in Nigeria, I wouldn't recommend you buy a 307 with this engine. I wouldn't recommend that for various reasons. Aside that the power is not that much, it just has 10 horsepower, uh, difference on the older version of 1.4 liter engine. So being 65 will also not make it that good in terms of power. But where I'm looking at is accessibility of parts are not easily available in Nigeria, especially if you have to go for new. So even for the used one, it's only very few parts of the country that can get those parts, like Lagos. You might not even get them here in Abuja and the rest. So I wouldn't recommend you buy. See, I only recommend you buy a car to some people, not everybody. You buy a car that the engine is very unique or rare, or parts are not available. I will recommend it to if there is something unique about the car, as in outstanding, let me call it that way, something outstanding about the car or about the engine. But in this case, there's nothing really outstanding. It doesn't consume the least. It doesn't have it's not the most powerful engine in 307. So why bother buying something that there's nothing special about the engine? Yet any small thing that happen to that engine, you have to order it from outside the country. You park the car for who knows how long. But if the car has, like, let's assume that EW10J4S, or maybe even the EW12, let's assume, yeah, there's a 307 with EW12, or okay, let's just say maybe EW12, or okay, I can't use it, it's actually common. Maybe, I don't know, which engine will I say now? Maybe that has more power than the 180 horsepower in EW12, EW10J4S. You say, okay, because of this power, this performance this car possess, it's worth it. Or that it has one kind of engine that consume the least it can use 1 liter to do 300 kilometers. You could say, okay, maybe it's worth it. But it's just normal fuel consumption with the 1.4. Even it might have a little bit fuel economy. That, I mean, there's nothing special, so why buy it? And then the technical know-how, not every technician will even know how to do that. I mean, the timing belt of this engine itself, you have to order it outside. These are the things you need to consider, so that you won't have to put yourself in a position where you will be, using the car pending when the timing belt cuts, which should damage the engine. You know. So I think that this way I'll stop for petrol. I don't know if there's another engine, maybe another 1.4, 1.6 that I'm not remembering, but these are like the common ones you will see. Especially this and this. If you're not into that power and you don't care about fuel consumption, I'm not saying this one consumes. Like, the only way to know is go and drive 406 with EW12J4 engine. Yeah. From there, you have idea how much kind fuel this 307 with this engine will consume. Uh, Likewise, if I do this kind of conversion, it will consume with this engine 2.2 liter 3FY EW12J4. It will also consume, like, see if I'm driving 407, 406 with the 3FZ EW12J4 engine. Okay, so this is basically all you need to know about your choice of 307. I have told you mine. I've also explained um, other models that could be your choice, so you now have to choose. So I don't know if there's any. I don't think there's any other thing I need to add. Um, if you want the automatic, you now know, like, this model comes with automatic as well. This one comes with auto and manual, like I said earlier. But this 1.4, the two 1.4 liter petrol engine in 307, they all came in as manual, no automatic version. It would be horrible for them to have auto, considering that even with the manual, the car will be very underpowered. Will be dragging most of the time. So if you put automatic, it will make it worse. So the automatic, you can go for this one if you're into automatic, or if you want manual. Likewise, if you want automatic, you can go for this one or manual. If you want auto, you can go for this one or manual. But if you are the high spirited drive type behind the wheel, that it has to be manual, then go for this one. But they are not that easily available, but you can get them. Well, if you really interested in the one. These ones, I will recommend, don't buy any convertible CC with this engine TU5JP4. Avoid it. This is the worst mistake you make. As good as this engine is, that I recommend people to go for it when it comes to fuel economy, do not buy that of the CC. You with all the people I know that have ended up buying 307cc or convertible with the 1.6 liter, regretted it. Of course, they all came in manual, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's any automatic. It's possible, but man, they were all slow. I haven't driven any with that engine in CC, no. But the people that have driven, they have owned it and came online, they were all complaining how slow the car was. And if they'd known the fuel economy they thought they were seeking for, it didn't even measure up close to that of this engine. So the best CC you go for is either this one or this one or this one. Yeah. So um So I think basically that's it. Until next time.